It's Michael White. How's it going? We're going live a little early. So, with that being said, I actually want to thank everybody. This is our last stream of the year. I want to thank everybody that has supported us, been there for us, showed us love, all those type of good things. Without you guys, none of this would have been possible for us to have the love and relationship podcast. You guys have liked the page, you guys have supported us, and please continue to do so. Please like, share, subscribe on the video. We provide all links on our YouTube videos. You guys can go to Linktree, watch everything. You could see us on YouTube. You could see us on TikTok now. You could see us on Spotify. And the biggest one is now you can see us on iTunes. It's official, guys. We are on iTunes now, so you guys can listen to us on the go. So we're really, really excited about that and the new changes that are coming. We're working diligently on giving you guys the clothing line, Love and Relationship. You guys have seen some of the logos, so we're working very diligently to give you guys that as well. So, with that being said, let's get into today's topic. Are you dating with purpose? Now, what do I mean by that? I'm going to break it down. A lot of people, when they date, they're just kind of seeing where it goes type thing, or they're just kind of testing the waters. But then you might have another person that's like, okay, I'm like looking for marriage, like looking for it to head in that direction. And I'm not saying you say this on the first date because you don't want to scare the person off, but I'm saying you need to make your intentions known. And I think a lot of times people get scared to do so because they're afraid that the person might not want what they want and they might leave. But I'm telling you, it's better for a person to leave than for them to stay and you guys want different things. And that's why, as I said, boundaries and standards, they're there for a reason. They protect you from the people you're not supposed to be with. And that's why they're supposed to be enforced. Because if you don't enforce them, then you let everybody in. You become not a hotel, you become a motel. Anybody could stay there. The doors are open for everybody. You'll take anybody, you'll hand out a key and say, stay in room B2 instead of being a hotel where only certain people can stay. Only certain people will have that privilege. And I honestly think that when it comes to enforcing your boundaries, everyone's going to be different. Not everyone's going to have the same standards. Not everyone's going to have the same boundaries. But you as an individual need to figure out what yours are, right? You need to figure out, like, are you looking to date just to casually date? Are you a serial dater? We got all these terminologies now, which are insane. But it's like when I date, I'll use me as an example. I date with purpose. I date to get to know you. I'm dating long term. My plan, if I like you or I'm interested in you, my plan is longevity. I'm not here to date you short and have a little 3-month little roll around in the hay or a trough, or just have some fun for 3 months. I'm looking at it, hey, I vibe with you. If this is the vibe that you're showing me, I think I can mess with this long term because I'm unfolding who you are. I'm learning just like how you're learning about me. So that's the thing. When you date with purpose, you date with a plan. So a lot of times when you have your plan, let's say, you have to make sure that you know who you are as an individual, and figure out who fits into that plan. And I think that's where people make a lot of mistakes because they don't even know who they are. So when they enter in the dating market, they have no idea what to accept and what to reject. Right? So let's say, for example, one of your standards is you don't like to deal with people that yell. Yelling is unacceptable to you, right? You're not going to just puke this out on someone on the first date. But let's say as you guys get to know each other and you start to reveal these things and they start to reveal things, at that point, you need to tell the person, It's not, yelling is unacceptable to me. So the person knows and is aware that that's not something you tolerate. But if you never tell them that and they display those type of behaviors, you end up staying. We see it all the time. People end up staying with people or getting with people they were never supposed to get with or meant to get with. And they end up creating more heartache for themselves. And that's what I'm trying to say, that you need to write down on a piece of paper, your cell phone, whatever it is, of what your standards are, what you're willing to tolerate, and what you're not willing to tolerate. And you need to feel comfortable walking away. Let me say that again. You need to feel comfortable walking away. So many times, like, we're getting to know someone, they're new, they're fresh, we're all like, oh, we're all excited, they're the new thing on the block. But then you start to see the red flags, and there's too many of them. They have more red flags than a Chinese parade, and you're still staying. When at that point you should have been like, look, I don't think this is going to work. I wish you the best, and you move on. Now, the problem is in today's modern dating is nobody's authentic and real. Everything is done through this. Um, Unfortunately. So if you're breaking up with someone, via text message. You know what I mean? My biggest thing is you need to have strategic planning. So if you're going to have a relationship with somebody, you tell them, hey, look, any serious conversations need to be done over the phone, not via text message. Or we meet in person and we talk about it in person. But not this. I didn't get in a relationship with that individual, let's call her Sarah, to have a relationship with you through the cell phone like this. No, I got in a relationship to have a relationship with you directly. This is just a tool that we use to communicate. But the majority of the bulk of the communication, I want it done in person. So you know what I mean? It's literally setting those type of standards. And we need to ask ourselves, why aren't we enforcing them? If you're looking for love, you can't love everybody. You need to figure out what works for you and what doesn't work for you. So that's the biggest thing, right? Because that's how people are getting hurt. They're getting hurt because they're accepting too many things. You know what I mean? They're accepting all these bad behaviors on the guy side and on the girl side. Or they're not dating with purpose. Let's say I'm a man that dates with purpose and I meet a lovely girl. She's good looking. She checks a lot of my boxes. But let's say she's not dating with purpose. Let's say she's kind of like emotionally unavailable, but she just wants to have fun. Why am I pursuing this person? When somebody tells you that they're emotionally unavailable, what they're telling you is they're going to hurt you. Not deliberately, but more in the sense of they're not able to commit to you emotionally. They will never be able to give you what you need because there is, other things going on. Or the higher ladder, there's another guy. Because again, let's be honest. When a woman tells you that she's emotionally available, there's another dude. So that's a little side note. But on the hierarchy of things, why would you pursue someone that's not emotionally available? Why would you continue to pour into them, and try to get them to date with purpose when you're dating with purpose and they're not? So we also have to learn detachment. We have to learn attachment. We have to learn to have healthy connections, but we also have to learn detachment, which also means is letting someone go when they don't fit what we're looking for or what we need. And it's the same thing on a girl's side. And again, I don't discriminate. We talk about both. Let's say you're a girl and you're dating with purpose. You're like, I want to have kids. I want to get married. I want to do all these things. But yet you're dealing with guys that are like Chads and Tyrones and Julios. That doesn't fit your narrative. Like, I've spoken to a lot of females and they're like, Mike, I want to get married. I want to settle down. But then I'm watching the guys that she's chasing and they have none of those characteristics. Like, zero. They want to have the bedroom fun. They're a Pookie and Ray Ray. It's just, there's no commitment. And what they try to do, and guys do this too, is you try to get commitment out of someone that doesn't want to give commitment. And honestly, it's exhausting for you. It's exhausting for them because they don't want to give it. They're not in a space to give it. And then you end up draining yourself out. And the reason why I make a lot of these statements and why people should enforce their boundaries, why it's so important, is so you can get the blessing you deserve. Because if you're accepting everyone and everything, you're blocking your blessings. When you're entertaining people you shouldn't be entertaining, you're blocking your blessings from you being with the person you're supposed to be with. So that's why on this podcast, I want you guys to get very clear on, am I dating with purpose? Is there an end goal? And what is that end goal? Maybe it's just to be in a relationship, maybe it's marriage and kids. And then you date people within that sphere. You don't date anybody outside of it. If somebody tells you, let's say hypothetically, you want to date with, you're dating with purpose, right? And you meet someone and you want to have kids and you want to have marriage and they don't do it. Leave. But because we're so obsessed with the idea of love instead of like looking at reality, is, and we see this a lot, guys. So let's not play devil's advocate. We see this a lot. Someone will date someone and they don't want kids. They'll date them anyways, hoping that 5-10 years from the road they want kids. And let's say their mind never changes. You just wasted 10 years. You might have learned a bunch of things, but you never got what you wanted because they wanted kids and you didn't, or vice versa. And that's where a lot of the pain comes in. That's why I always say you need to make it very clear from the jump, right from the jump, of what it is you're looking for, what it is you're not looking for, and what it is you're not willing to deal with. Now, I'm not telling you to put that in your Tinder profile. Like, you're giving too much away when you do that. Oh, no friends with benefits or whatever. Why are you going to put that in your Tinder bio? Tell the person to their face in the jump when you meet them. If you vibe with them, then tell them, hey, I need to let you know that, friends with benefits is not something I'm about. It's not something I do. If that's what you're about, tell me now so I can walk away. And that's what I believe, that directness. Now, guys, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm perfect. I've dated women without purpose or an end game. I've just dated them just to date them. Oh, you're pretty. We have a good time. It honestly doesn't work, because even when you look at history, men and women have always dated with a purpose, right? The woman would, I'll use like my favorite time, which is Spartan's time. The Spartan women, or the women from that generation, would date men, Spartan warriors, for example, like the movie 300. Why do you think she dated that guy? He was the best provider of the tribe, of the 300 men, or there were more actually. But out of all those men, he was the best provider. And she dated him not like serially, but more as in the sense of, he's the best provider. He's going to give me the best. He's the best version of himself. That guy dated her because he was like, well, she's the prettiest. She's the most agreeable. You know what I mean? She's submissive and all those wonderful things. And he picked her. And that really hasn't changed in modern times. Has it? Yes, like women provide too, 100%. But a lot of women that I speak to say, hey, I love having my own money, but I want a guy that has his money on point, that can also lead the relationship, that can make decisions and make choices. Because again, when you look at, I'll use this movie because it's my favorite, Leonidas, he made choices. He took charge. He took a lot of the weight off of her shoulders so she could just really just be herself. And that's what I'm trying to say is, when we date with purpose, there's a reasoning behind everything, right? And never be afraid to enforce your boundaries, because if you are afraid to do that, it shows that there's a lack of love going inside of you. Because a confident person, and I'm not making fun of anybody, I'm saying just work on your confidence, but a confident person has no problem telling somebody, hey, this is what I need, or this is what I want, and seeing if that person is like that, And if they're not like that, they can leave peacefully on to the next person instead of trying to conform, chase, or convince them to be what they want them to be. And I think a lot of times that's what we see in the dating market. People trying to convince people to want what they want or be what they want them to be. The person fails at it miserably, and then they end up resenting both parties. Both people end up disliking each other, they end up breaking up. And it's like all this should have been established from the jump. All of it. Within the first like 2 to 3 months, you guys should at least have a baseline of how you operate and how you move. And I think like that's why this for this one it's so important with me, because I said for 2022, are you dating with purpose? What is your intention? Because a lot of times when it comes to dating, let's be honest, we're very selfish. We get in a relationship to get, not give. And relationships are about giving. They're not about what you can get, it's about what you can give. Now, I'm not telling you to give carelessly, I'm telling you to give selectively. I'm telling you to give in a sense of strategic giving. And we'll probably talk about it for season 3. And what I mean is making sure you vetted the person, making sure they're a good fit for your life, all those things, and then giving in chunks. You don't want to overwhelm the person. You give slowly, and it becomes a process instead of just blah, all over them. You know what I mean? So I think literally when you can like give in that principle of slowly and be strategic in your giving, number one, you don't get taken advantage of. Number two, you're able to detach a lot better if stuff goes south. And then number three, it doesn't mean that you're not in it 100%. You are in it 100%. You're just being strategic and taking your time and getting to know your surroundings and know your area, which I think is super important to do, because we have people just, you know, having the bedroom fun right away, and not really knowing who they're doing that with, not having an idea of their character, their principles, what they stand for. Are they dating with purpose? None of that. So that's why for me, I always try to tell people, be strategic in the things that you do, because a lot of times we'll tell people, hey, you need to earn this. No, it's not about an earning system. You want to inspire that in that individual, not by pushing it on them, but by being who you are, being who you need to be, working on yourself, being the best version of yourself, and inspiring that in them. And I think once you can do that, you'll literally see a change in a lot of things. A lot of times when you give strategically and you inspire, you actually tend to get what you want a lot more, because you're not coming from a selfish place. Your heart isn't in a selfish place. A lot of times people's hearts are in a selfish place when they date with purpose. I'm only here to get what I want, but I'm not going to give you what you want. And I'm sorry, relationships are about trade-offs, man. You're not going to have your cake and eat it too in a relationship. It doesn't work that way, right? When you get into a relationship, there are certain behaviors and certain characteristics that you need to be able to display to take the relationship to higher levels, marriage, kids, all those type of things, right? So you can't be in a relationship, but you wilding out, like going to clubs on weekends or like entertaining exes. There's certain behaviors that you need to drop. So that's what I'm saying. These are all things that you got to look at when you're dating somebody, because you have to look at, for example, you're getting to know someone, they're still talking to their ex regularly. That stuff should have been handled before we even started talking. You know what I mean? But a lot of times people want to have their cake and eat it too. They want to get to know someone new while still keeping the ex around. And it's like life doesn't work that way. You know what I mean? If you want better results, understand that relationships are about trade offs. The person's going to have certain requirements of you, guys or girls, that you're going to have to meet. If you can't meet those requirements, then you know what? It is what it is, right? Dating sucks on that high sense, but the reason why we have those things is to ensure survival. That's why, like, for example, a woman's not gonna hook up with a guy or have a purpose with a guy that has no job. He might not be ambitious. He's lacking some resources, which would prevent them from having children, feeding the children, keeping a roof over their head, all those things. So that's why, as I said, it's so important, and not to get mad at it, but to acknowledge it. It's like for a guy example, he might not date a girl that's rude, crass, a boss babe, you know, all those type of things, because those behaviors are inconducive to in a relationship. So that's what I'm saying is we need to start understanding relationship dynamics. And that's why I tell people, if you want to get into a relationship with someone or start dating, study relationships. It only makes sense. Think about it. A doctor, to become a doctor, what did he have to do? He had to go to school, medical school. He had to study. He had to become the best in his field. Basketball player, football player, no matter what it is, they had to study to become the best. So why aren't we studying when it comes to relationships? Why are we just getting into relationships and just figuring it out instead of studying male and female dynamics, how male and females think, how the dating market works, and understanding a lot more as yourself as a female and as a man, so you can be the best version of yourself. Because again, we all have people in our past that we should have never dated, and we're not going to sit here and dwell on it, but you want to make sure that you don't repeat the same mistakes again. And that's what's happening with a lot of people. They're dating the same people, different face, but same characteristics, same behavior patterns. So it clearly shows that you haven't changed. You just changed the faces. And that's what's happening with a lot of people. So I don't want to keep you for too long. I know you guys are out there celebrating your New Year's Eve. I just wanted to give you a nice way to start your 2021 or 2022, sorry, especially if you're going to start dating, especially if you're going to get yourself out there, is to figure out who you are, what your principles and your purpose is, what your boundaries and what your standards are. Because a lot of times you'll ask people in a relationship, hey, what are your boundaries and standards? Crickets. They don't have any. And then you wonder why a lot of your relationships are failing, because a lot of times people will only enforce their boundaries and standards when they get pushed to that point. You shouldn't have to get pushed there to enforce your boundaries and standards. It doesn't make sense. So, with that being said, guys, I will see you guys real soon. We'll see you guys in 2022. Take care.